Mr. Clerk, Resolution 48-15.
Resolution 48-15 amends the rules of procedure and organization of the Council of the County of Hawaii by amending Rule Number 13, Public Statements and Testimony. Amends Council Rule 13 by removing the option of submitting video testimony. Reference Communication 77, introduced by Ms. Willie.
Ms. Willie.
Yes. So moved or do
Move to approve.
move to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Willie, seconded by Ms. David. Ms. Willie, you have the floor.
Yes. Okay. So I thought this was worth discussing. I try on the rules even one way or another if I think we should discuss it. The video testimony is something that's never been used. It's administratively cumbersome and challenging. And, so just as I was trying to look through what rules we should discuss and talking to staff, I brought it forward. I think that if someone comes forward, presentation, had a video, it does something, they can, but it just means you can't be sending in videos. Again, this is not something, there are pros and cons. I'm not trying to keep people from speaking. I'm just trying to, where can we become a little bit more administratively efficient. I'd rather Jeanette and others are spending their time on other things than dealing with all the spam mail we're getting in this and that. Again, I just opening it up for discussion. If people feel strongly the other way, I have no problem.
Thank you. Mr. Onishi.
Yeah, Carrie, can you please go on? You can introduce yourself.
Aloha Council, I'm Carrie Marks.
Yeah. You have some interesting comments about, like you're saying now with technology and then doing away with paper, right? Can you explain more, or do you have like more information to give us?
Well, understanding that this was a very underutilized service, I asked about it. So what's the problem? It doesn't seem a problem if nobody uses it. And was it, taking up too much room on the agenda or what? But the answer I was given was that every time somebody submits testimony, you have to generate a piece of paper for all 9 of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was creating, but if nobody is submitting testimony in video form, I'm not sure how that creates a problem, a paper trail problem for Jeanette and all them. But I think it's pretty easy to store videos and store links, and you now have a website that hosts live web conferencing of your meetings.
So you made a comment about that too, like how, like you said, had the agenda one side and had, I guess, the video. So
it's beautiful.
I've never seen it. That's why I never.
Your new live stream is running right now, and on one box, one window in the screen, you can see what's happening here, the mix from the other satellite sites and all that. And on the other side of the screen, there's a viewer that hosts the actual agenda. And beyond that, it's not just the agenda. Each communication and reso and all that are clickable links. And so it's a really great system. It's really, really cool. And I'm very, very happy that you all put it together.
But people cannot respond back.
No, you can't. It's a one-way situation. They can watch and they can look up documents and they can educate themselves, but there's no testimony. You can't testify via the live feed, and there's no permanent record of it until they archive it and it posts as a different link on the website.
Okay. And then I know you were here for a while, and then I think Ms. Ford had introduced this, right? To get the
I think it was Mr. Hoffman.
Oh, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yep.
And that was to help. I'm trying to remember how that happened. Was like to help out people if they couldn't like be here at all or something. That they would be able to give us this video so we could look at it, and then they would be like, I guess, live instead of reading one piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. Right? It wasn't my idea.
No, I know.
Although some people have asked me that. It was Mr. Hoffman's idea, and I think it was a very forward-thinking, way for people to present testimony. There are other municipalities across the nation and other places where you can submit video testimony. Written testimony could also be sent ahead of time, but you may have noticed you've never received written testimony from me either. I'm not a writer. I don't like to write. So that would be one reason I would like to do video testimony versus that. And plus, it's easier for me to turn on my cell phone and grab 3 minutes. Beyond that, I think you get a lot of the feeling and the sense. You get more of a sense of the person when you see them on video than when they just send in written testimony.
No, that's true. That's true. And, I don't think that we really have a problem, and I guess that would be a question to the clerk.
Oh,
If
Deputy.
we're working,
What was the question?
like if there's any problems that by having this offered to the public, are we having problems, or if there's not, then maybe we should continue it because it's just another avenue for people to give testimony.
Well, Ms. Marks is correct. We don't receive video testimony.
So there's no problem then. You folks are receiving any problems because of or you guys are having like overwhelmed with video testimony?
We don't receive any.
Okay.
Mr. Hendricks maybe wants to add to that, though.
Okay.
John Hendricks, Deputy County Clerk. Part of the reason why there's no problem is that we're not receiving any.
Okay. So
But one of the issues is, archiving things as well. In the rule, when it was written by Mr. Hoffman and approved by the council, there were no specifications for how this is supposed to work. As such, we've tried to come up with some, and it's been very difficult because there's so many different varieties of media. Somebody brings a VHS tape, we probably would have to accept it. How do we disseminate that to everybody? How do we archive that? There's probably answers for these things, but quite frankly, because the demand to do something like this.
Okay, so my question is there any problems? Yes or no?
There's a problem if we start to receive them, and the one time we did receive one, it was an issue.
Okay, and so your recommendation would be better to take this out, or do we still continue and try to get some, I guess, legislation in to make it where you folks can somehow get it stored? Because I think, like Carrie had mentioned, I guess was going to raise her hand because you mentioned about what VCRs
It states very clearly on every single agenda that you all send out the format that the video has to be, and it has to be a downloadable link, a URL, a hosted URL. So you cannot bring a videotape in and just drop it off.
You could, because that's not.
You cannot.
It's debatable now.
with all due respect to your position, that's not something the rules state. So if somebody brought something in like that, we would probably have to accept it, even though it states that on our agenda. That's a policy that we created to try to make sure it was something that could be utilized by the council. But with all due respect, we probably would have to take anything and then do our best to make sure that we follow the spirit of the rule.
Okay, so my question is again, so is it better to remove this, as Ms. Willie has put in, or should we keep it and try to make better legislation?
I think that you should listen to everything that Ms. Marks has said. I think you should listen to everything that Margaret has said and that everybody else has said and make your decision based upon how you feel about it.
I want to hear from the clerk's office to see if it's, it's you guys are the ones dealing with it. So we don't want to put burden upon you guys if you guys are having a hard time.
If it was just a matter of it being a burden, I think that would be hard for us to say, don't do it, because we're here to serve the public as well as you.
Okay, that's okay. I'll just keep it. I'm going to support. I'm not going to vote for this down. I'm going to support what Carrie had mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. Mr. Paleka.
I think I have to side on Carrie's side because I want to keep it open. And with the kids, the youth nowadays, they submit everything Instagram or to video, and by keeping that option open to individuals, and if I want to make testimony and I'm in somewhere, Thailand, Germany, wherever I might be on this beautiful world of ours, and I so decide, hey, you know what, this is or someone calls me, hey, there's an item and I want to testify. That opportunity is available, and probably that's the only one. Oh, well, besides email and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ilagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would like to support Carrie on this too. And maybe we could work something out to where the problematic videos, maybe let's do a whitelist of what we can accept. That's video testimony. And maybe a process to make it easier for everyone.
May I?
Go ahead.
I mean, that's kind of how we came up with what's on the agenda, is through a pretty heavy-duty analysis and thinking how to work it best, because those details weren't provided in the actual rule. And I don't, personally, I don't want to come across as opposed to expanding opportunities for people to participate in our council meetings. But, I do understand and appreciate Ms. Willie's position that, quite frankly, it hasn't been utilized. And if it was something that I think was valued in the last, 3.5, 4 years that it's been in, or at least 2.5 to 3 years it's been in place, we would have seen that occur. So, it was, it's a difficult one in some ways. I think that it's hard for, to take a position that you want to limit people's opportunities when we've kind of opened this Pandora's box. But quite frankly, the box has been open and it hasn't been receiving anything for that matter. And we do have general concerns about, when we receive written testimony, it's easy to deal with. We make copies for you folks, we number it, it becomes part of the permanent record. We keep these things, we retain them, they're part of the record. Not so simple, obviously, when it comes to a medium like video and, and those kind of things of that nature. So, that's kind of where we're at on that issue.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Hendricks. So I just want to say I support our 10th council member, Gary Marks, and I expect you to be the first one to use this video testimony. I would like to watch you on video.
Thank you, Mr. Ilagan. I'm okay either way on this one. Ms. Eoff, I know you had the light on.
I was just going to say that if it does state here, I'm reading it on the agenda, the proper way to submit it, I'm sure that the staff, if we ever do start to get them, could figure out a way to store it and then forward it to us by email. I guess that's what you're supposed to do, so we get a copy. And I don't see it as a problem, so I'm just wondering why until it becomes a problem, we should just offer this or leave it here as the option.
I don't want to leave Margaret hanging out on an island either. Like, she came up with this idea. I think she was just trying to support, the staff here in that of our concerns of what happens if we do receive a plethora of them on any particular issue and we don't know how to deal with it. So, I thank Margaret for listening to some of the staff here and some of their concerns and putting this forward. So I just want to let you know that, I don't want to just leave you hanging out.
We're more high tech, right? Now that we can do this video streaming.
I'm not very high tech personally, so in my personal opinion, I feel like there's ample opportunities to participate in many other ways. Especially viewing, at least, if not what have you. But so be it.
Thank you, Ms. Eoff. Ms. Willie, I know you've heard from many council members. I think the best thing would just be to withdraw.
Yeah. And again, I really just felt it was worth discussing since it was a staff concern. So I will withdraw this.
Thank you. Resolution 48-15 has been withdrawn. Mr. Clerk.
Mahalo, Council.
Mr. Clerk, thank you, Carrie. Mr. Clerk, Resolution 49-15.